Welcome back, America. Joined now by Dr. Michael Oren from the great state of Israel, former ambassador to the United States from Israel, former deputy minister. Good morning, Dr. Oren. Great to have you.
Great to be with you as always, Hugh.
I am reading the Times of Israel this morning. It's always the first newspaper I read, and I stayed on the story Israeli cyber chief attack on water systems, a changing point in cyber warfare. The national cyber head Yigal Una, who you probably know, said if the bad guys had succeeded in their plot, we would now be facing, in the middle of the coronavirus, very big damage to the civilian population and a lack of water, and even worse than that. I don't think the West knows what the Iranians tried to do to Israel last month.
I don't think the world knows much what Iran does to everybody. This is the regime that called for the final solution for the state of Israel about a week and a half ago. Remember that one?
Yes.
Don't pay much attention. I wonder how the Germans, Hugh, how much the Germans would justify continuing paying tens of billions of dollars in sanctions relief to the Iranian regime that calls for a final solution. That always kind of mystifies me. But the equivalent, the cyber attack on Israel's water system would be the equivalent, say, of jet bombers coming over and bombing our reservoirs and bombing our water tanks and water pipes. Maybe the world would notice, but it's exactly the same. It is a Pearl Harbor moment, but a Pearl Harbor moment against our civilians.
So
And Israel should reserve every possible right to retaliate.
tease out for us what they did as far as is known, because the typically secret Israeli defense services have been more public about this. I think they want the world to know what happened.
I think they have to know the world that this is what you call a casus belli. This is the equivalent of a massive attack on a civilian population. It fortunately was blocked in time to prevent massive damage. And Israel, if you come to Israel next time, I suggest you go to our cyber campus, entire campus for cyber defense outside of Beersheba, and they take you into a war room where they show how all of our water utilities are hooked up to a defense grid, which we can see. You can actually see attempts to break into that grid and disrupt the water system to Israeli civilians. So this was picked up in time, and it was depraved. But it doesn't change the fact that Iran launched a military-grade assault on our civilian population with the express goal of killing thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people.
Would you expand on that? Because I don't, again, a military grade assault. If they had sent a dozen Scud rockets, probably the threat was less because you have Iron Dome. Instead, they went after your water supply. Just explain to people what happened.
Well, the actual details of it, I don't know. I'm sure that very few people know, and they should be know. They're all very highly classified. But Israel, like any modern country, has a water system. We have the most advanced water systems in the world. We lead the world in water reclamation. We reclaim about 90% of our water. Number two in the world is Spain, that reclaims about 13% of its water, so we're way ahead of the game. We have the largest and most advanced water desalination systems in the world, but it's all computerized. And we are in the midst of a regional drought and an area that's traditionally very, very dry in any case. And we supply water to the Palestinians. We supply water quietly to the Jordanians. They're not always very grateful for it. We have the solution, but it is high tech. And as a high tech system, it can be vulnerable to cyber attack. And if had it succeeded, then Israel's water supply could have been cut off, and we could find close to 10 million people without water. That, to me, is a massive aggression.
It is. I had on Angus King yesterday, senator from Maine, Mike Gallagher, congressman from Wisconsin. They co-chaired the Cybersecurity Solarium Commission, which has got recommendations out. But I don't think Americans believe that this kind of stuff happens yet. It's now reality in Israel. Was there, in your view, an effective response about which the Iranians cannot make any mistakes? It came from Israel, and far worse could follow.
Well, I think the response, and here I'm basing on press reports, was against the Iranian ports and disruption, a severe disruption of Iran's ability to import materials from abroad. And again, people aren't commenting very much about that, but it was in the press. but I'm sure that Israel's cyber abilities are extensive. Here's an interesting statistic for you. Israel represents 0.002% of the world population, but we account for 20% of the world's investment in cybersecurity. That's punching 200 times above our weight, and the Iranians know it.
Last question, Michael Oren. Do Americans, in your opinion, and you know the country so well, your land of your birth, and now you were ambassador from Israel to it, do they understand the cyber threat yet?
Well, maybe Americans in the street don't, but Americans in Homeland Security do. And America is also the target of tens of thousands of cyber attacks every single year. And our cooperation between our countries in cyber defense is unparalleled anywhere else in the world.
Dr. Michael Oren, always good to talk to you from Israel. Go read the story, America, at timesofisrael.com, and go visit Dr. Oren's website, michaeloren.com. Stay with me. Hour number 2 straight ahead. General Deptula is next. We'll talk Hong Kong with him when we return. Stay tuned.